So good afternoon all, and thank you for joining me today. So as charities, we exist to make a difference, to bring hope, create change, and uplift those in need. And every donation you receive, every person you help, and every partnership you build is a testament to your mission. But in our increasingly digital world, the tools that empower us to do more also bring risks that can jeopardize everything that we've worked so hard to achieve. Now, cybersecurity might not seem like the most exciting part of running a charity, but it's certainly one of the most critical. It's about ensuring that that your work can continue without interruption or harm, and it's about protecting the people and causes that you serve. My name is Joel Hogan. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Charity Digital, and for over 7 years, I've been providing support to charities in a number of ways, from frontline support, such as live chat and emails, to delivering consultations, webinars, and surprisingly, focus groups. Today, let's look at how small steps can make a big difference to your cybersecurity. So just quickly pop a look at the agenda. So we're going to start off by looking at some of the growing cybersecurity threats, as well as common cyber threats too. We'll then take a brief look at the impact of poor cybersecurity can have on charities, and also discuss the foundations of good cybersecurity. We'll then take a look at some low-cost cybersecurity tools available via Charity Digital, and we'll round off things by looking at how to respond to cyber incidents and the next steps on that. With some few useful links as well. And as usual, we'll have time for the Q&A at the end. So yeah, without further ado, let's get cracking on there. So why cybersecurity matters for small charities. So protecting beneficiaries and donors. So charities often collect highly sensitive information. So that's just such as your financial details or credit, like credit card numbers for your donations or collections, things like that. Personal identifiers as well, such as your names, addresses, medical histories for some sort of health-based charities, or perhaps even some legal casework as well. If this information is leaked, this information can result in identity theft or harm your beneficiary's safety. Now, maintaining trust it's a foundational for charities. A single cyber incident, should I say, can lead to bad publicity, discourage donors, and jeopardize the ability to secure future funding or partnerships. And with operational continuity, charities often work with tight budgets and limited IT resources. Recovering from an attack could mean reallocating funds from essential programs. So that's directly impacting their mission. So why are small charities targets? So small charities, they often lack decent cybersecurity, making them easy targets for cyber criminals. Charities won't always have the budget to invest in cybersecurity compared to perhaps investing in their mission objectives or their community service goals. Cybersecurity tends to come a little bit further down on the priority list. Now, the long-standing attitude of charities in general, not just small charities, but a lot of charities, is why us? What information do we hold or have that could be of value to a cyber criminal? These are the kind of questions that have been coming up for years from charities of various shapes and sizes. Maybe not the large or super massive, super major ones or anything like that, but maybe the small ones. Why us? Why would we get attacked? It's certainly worth reviewing the data that you hold as an organization, but it's also worth noting that a cyber criminal's purpose isn't always monetary, but it can be purely to cause chaos. Cyber criminals will target smaller organizations as practice or experimentation before they move to primary targets, or perhaps they just want to troll, if there's a better word for the term there. Potential cybersecurity attacks could be from disgruntled users as well, beneficiaries, or perhaps former workers or volunteers. A quote that I heard from an organization called the Digital Care Hub is prevention is better than the solution. And in my mind, this is a really powerful statement regarding cybersecurity, and it's something that I do align with. It will cost charities far less to invest in cybersecurity than invest in a solution to recover from an attack. So let's take a look at some of the common cyber threats. Phishing attacks. So cyber criminals will try to trick you into giving away sensitive information, such as passwords or credit card numbers. They will try to appear as a legitimate source, such as a bank or a website that you trust. The attack is in the form of fake emails or messages that contain links to fraudulent websites or malicious attachments. Once a victim provides the information or opens the attachment, the attacker can steal their data or infect their device with malware. Malware is short for malicious software, which is designed to harm, exploit a computer system, a network, or device. Now, moving on to ransomware. Now, that is a type of malware and is the most popular form, or one of the most popular forms of attack used by cyber criminals to this day, and it has been for many years. It encrypts a victim's files or locks them out of their system, and that makes their data inaccessible, which leads to the attacker demanding a ransom payment. Usually, they require payment via cryptocurrency, and in most circumstances, complying with the cyber criminal usually means they take your funds and don't unlock. Along with the approaches and solutions I'll be talking about today, it's important that charities regularly back up their data to avoid scenarios like this. Now, data breaches, it's obviously common as well, very common. It's an incident where individuals gain access to sensitive, confidential, or protected information. This could happen as the result of a cyber attack, or just as common, a user inadvertently sharing sensitive information with external companies or users. Perhaps a member of staff accidentally shared a list of contacts that should have been with one person that's been emailed. It's been sent to everyone instead of via a BCC or something like that. It's maybe a spreadsheet full of details has been sent to the wrong people. It's like that kind of data breach happens. It's very, very common. And yeah, it's common in so many areas, not just charities, but your general businesses, government, healthcare, and education as well. And then we look at weak passwords. Now, pretty much self-explanatory. One of the most common faults of cyber attack is the use of weak passwords or poor password storage practice. Now, there are certainly more in-depth examples on this, such as social engineering and challenges with compliance are other forms of cyber threats, which would urge you to research. Which you can do via our other content as well. We've got some links coming up later. I do want to ensure today's session is as varied as possible. So any deep dive sessions into specific aspect can be looked at separately in your own time. And I will do my best to fit in as much to you today. I'm sure you can understand that cybersecurity is so huge, such a huge topic, and I'm just trying to condense things down as best as I can and make sure it's digestible for everyone here today as we're all on different levels. So let's have a look at the next slide. So the impact on charities. So obviously financial loss. So costs including paying could be, we were talking about paying ransoms earlier, that you might go down that path, hopefully not. But financial loss of hiring IT experts for recovery or facing fines for non-compliance with data regulations. Obviously, you've got your reputational damage as well. The public might question a charity's ability to responsibly manage funds or sensitive information as well. And with operational downtime, every day of system downtime delays delivering crucial services that your charity provides, especially in crises like disaster relief or medical aid. Operational downtime is a big thing. Then those are just a couple of points of impact on charities who suffer a cybersecurity attack. Now let's look at some of the foundations of good cybersecurity. It's a big topic, like I said, so I'll try to compress it down, but let's take a look at the first one there, awareness and training. So human error is the leading cause of cybersecurity incidents. We spoke about sort of data breaches a few moments ago, so that kind of falls in this area. So equipping staff and volunteers with basic knowledge reduces risks significantly. So a couple of examples of potential training ideas there. So you want to teach staff to hover over links to check the URLs or links before clicking. So if you're providing a link, perhaps so you're not very aware of it, instead of actually clicking on the link, You hover over it, and a box will come up with the source of where the link's coming from. If something doesn't look right there, perhaps if you just look at the website, if you see it's not perhaps somewhere that's known to you as well, then obviously it's not worth clicking there. So that's just something. One point is to maybe not just click on the first thing you see, but it's worth hovering over things as well. You want to try see if you can try and simulate phishing attacks to test and reinforce vigilance. There are options out there on how to simulate phishing attacks. For example, Microsoft have a program called Attack Simulation Training, which is included with some Microsoft Defender licenses. Know Before is a really great option out there, sort of world-renowned leader for cybersecurity training. Lots of organizations use it or provide access to it as well. So that's definitely a path you can try and go down as well for training if you can. And something just really basic as well, like perhaps something more visual or to really accommodate different learning styles. So you might want to use like posters around your office room or just general email reminders or short sessions to regularly remind staff of cybersecurity tips. Like I said, we're all different learners, where it's like auditory, visual, oral. So you want to ensure we can provide training to accommodate the different learning styles rather than just saying, right, here is your cybersecurity training, go complete it by the end of the day and just read. It's just not going to work for everyone in the world with all different sort of learners there as well. So yeah, we touched a bit on talked a bit about passwords already, but yeah, so studies show that the majority of breaches involve stolen or weak passwords. And with some good recommended practices, avoid common phrases like password 123 or charity 2024. Obvious, I know, but just want to make sure that's spoken about. It is hard to create or remember passwords, and particularly as there are a lot of websites or now that won't let you use the last five passwords in a row. But do try to have passwords that are unique and memorable to you specifically rather than something that's generic. You may want to use a password manager as well. Um, so use a password manager to generate and store unique passwords securely. There's a few password manager options out there. One of them we'll discuss a little bit later as well in terms of options for charities. But if that's a path that you're going down, that's good. And you want to set up organization-wide enforcement for password complexity. So it's important that everyone in your organization adheres to the same password requirements there. And generally, that's good practice for anything, not just passwords, but everyone wants to follow the same kind of a structure. For example, email domains, something I've spoken about a lot before in other previous videos and other sessions. You want to be using the same professional email domain, for example, which we'll briefly touch on later as well. So with device security, so some practical measures there. So you want to ensure that all devices are updated regularly. Always check for notifications. We all use many devices for work now, so make sure it's not just your PC or your laptop or Mac are up to date, but also your mobile and perhaps your tablet devices too. I'm sure we pretty much, even our mobile devices, probably getting updates fairly regularly. It is important as they usually, most of the time, include vital security updates there. So if you do receive an update via phone, don't put it off. Just get it updated as soon as you can there. Now you want to activate your firewalls and disable unused apps. There shouldn't really be too many reasons to deactivate your firewall unless you're specifically instructed by an IT person, but you shouldn't really want to deactivate your firewall. Really, you should be getting into the habit if you're struggling to access websites or traffic, you should be teaching the firewall what types of traffic or websites are safe to you and your organization rather than disabling it completely. Like unused data, emails or documents, apps that aren't regularly being used should be disabled for safety, but also potentially helping things like device memory too as well. It might help actually, you know, whether it's your PC or even if your phone might help it run a little bit better if you put things, if you do that with them. So and then you also want to educate staff on securing personal devices if they're used for work, such as enabling device encryption. Microsoft have a product called Intune, which is great for this and is included in the low-cost business premium subscription, which will come again to a bit later. Doing a lot of storytelling, and we'll come back to this later today, so apologies, but we'll get round to it. Okay, we just briefly touched on it. So data encryption, so it protects data from being usable even if stolen. So many platforms like Microsoft 365 or Google Drive encrypt files by default and do ensure encryption is enabled when sharing data externally. I'm sure if any of you today come perhaps handle sensitive data, perhaps in the medical world or anything like that, you're probably used to this word encryption. For local storage as well, there are tools like BitLocker or VeraCrypt, which they offer encryption for free. It's a really great tool for physical protection. And what I mean by that is if your device were to be stolen, like physically stolen, then your data would be encrypted and safe that way. It's really important for charities that are, like I said, holding sensitive or and personal data to encrypt their files when they can. Like I said, health charities or anyone holding lots and lots of personal or sensitive information should be used to encryption already. Now, backups, if a ransomware attack occurs, a reliable backup ensures minimal downtime. So in terms of things you can look at or strategy, cloud services with automated daily backup, so Dropbox, Google Workplace, Microsoft 365 should have their backups in that, or you should be setting those on anyway. You want to test backups periodically to confirm that they do restore properly. And it can be hard to stay on top of what to back up. Constantly backing up everything just isn't viable. So you'll want to prioritize what you back up and how often. Generally speaking, areas you back up the most frequently are where data is updated the most frequently. So perhaps that this could be perhaps donation quantities or financial information that changes from week to week or month to month. It could be a database which is constantly growing with more information perhaps about your beneficiaries or your donors or users or members. And in general, with backup, we should be backing up our data anyway, not just for cybersecurity reasons, but in case of data loss or corruption. Um, in January, we do have a webinar coming up about backing up your data, which I urge you to join as well. We'll have some links at that at the end as well. So we'll be able to look at backing up your data in a little more detail in early January next year. So yeah, join me for that one. Role-based access. So not what this means is that not every person or every volunteer or staff member needs full access to all systems. So you want to assign roles in software platforms based on responsibility. For example, read-only access for certain members of your staff or team, and then other level like admin access for perhaps your management or IT person. Audit permissions every 6 months to ensure no one has unnecessary access. So perhaps there might be someone who's left, but they still exist on your system somewhere. They still have some sort of access to certain systems. So make sure you audit who has access to what. And generally speaking as well, I mean, the more people that have admin access to your platforms means there's potential for more ways for a cyber criminal to access your data and systems. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, email security, phishing emails, like we spoke about a little while ago, can look professional, often impersonating a known entity like that could be someone you know or any organization or a funding agency. Do you want to do things to help protect against this? You want to enable multi-factor authentication for email accounts. Um, Sometimes it is included in service. For example, Microsoft 365 has multi-factor authentication enablements. I'm sure there's others as well, like Google as well have it. You want to avoid using personal email accounts for charity work. So, professional accounts often have added security layers. I know I touched on this a few moments ago, but yeah, generic email domains. So, that would be like your gmail.com or your hotmail.com. You want to try and stay away from that when doing work for your charity if you can. You'll want to use a professional or custom domain. So, for example, my organization's custom or professional domain is charitydigital.org.uk. So you really want to be using professional domains just for cybersecurity wise, but also, again, it comes back to trust for who you're communicating with. I would trust somebody with a professional email domain offering me services or asking me to log in somewhere rather than if it was someone using a Gmail account saying, we've got an offer for you here or something like that. I would be less inclined to do something like that because they're using a generic inbox or email box. So keep that in mind. This was a bit tricky because I know it can be unavoidable at times, but With public Wi-Fi, they can be intercepted by attackers using tools like packet sniffers. Strange name, I know. This is a hacking, it's a hardware and software, but also a technique that collects data packets that travel through an unencrypted computer network. This technique can be used to intercept personal information, such as financial information, as well. So if you can, always try to use a virtual private network when working in public airspaces. It encrypts your data and also masks your IP address as well. Hotspots, like even by reputable providers, always do still pose a bit of a cybersecurity risk. So do be careful, even if you're using a hotspot by perhaps a larger or famous company, they still have risks to them. And VPN is always the way to go if you're, I don't know, constantly working in coffee shops or something like that. So try and, if that's something that you do, you should really be using a VPN when possible. So I wanted to, before having a look at some of the offers via Charity Digital, just on this slide, just have a look at some of the average spend for small charities in the past couple of years. Um, it's for those for small charities, so we define that as organisations that have less that earn their income is less than £100,000 per year. And the information is based on cybersecurity purchase via Charity Digital. So organisations, small charities have, on average, have spent less than £30 per year on cybersecurity to cover their whole charity for cybersecurity solutions via Charity Digital as well. So there are ways to I mean, even £30 a year, I can understand, can be expensive for small and micro charities anyway. But some solutions, cybersecurity solutions for smaller setups, don't have to cost through the roof. Maybe further down the line, it might cost more, but that usually is a sign that you're doing well and growing. But in the initial stages, you don't have to go through the roof in spending on lots of cybersecurity tools there via Charity Digital. Right, big white screen. Thought I'd just change it up to wake everyone up because I know we've had the same slides for a little while. Don't worry, we'll go back to the other slides afterwards, but just to wake you up. So yeah, let's just go from left all the way down to the diagonal right there. So we'll take a look at some of the tools available for via Charity Digital. So Avast is probably one of the best all-round offers because of accessibility, inclusion, and the speed of identifying threats. Now, anyone who's used Charity Digital for a while or worked for the charity for quite a while is that eligibility criteria is often a stumbling block for charities when accessing offers. So being a charity doesn't mean you automatically get access to things. There's some various restrictions. Maybe a donor doesn't support your type of charity, or perhaps your charity is doing too well and has earns too much money or wants too many of a license. So some of our partners, like I said, will only provide their offers to specific types of charities, or yeah, or others. They'll limit the quantity of licenses you can purchase. And basically, Avast doesn't have those restrictions. So they offers are available to non-charity, non-profit organizations as well. So like your community interest companies and all that kind of thing. So they're open to them as well. But you can order as many licenses as you want, and you'll still get access to the discount there at whatever type of charity or non-profit that you are. And so Avast provide their charitable discounted offers via a portal called CloudCare, which is used to manage your cybersecurity software. You can easily assign or reassign licenses to devices as and when you wish, run regular ports, and you also have the option of purchasing various add-ons as well, such as content filtering, which could help stop your users from visiting websites with inappropriate content. You also have access to patch management, which is perfect to ensure all devices are secure and cared for from a remote location, allowing you to systematically manage, acquire, test, and install software updates or patches, is a better word, to address any vulnerabilities, bug fixing, and functionality improvement. Now, the goal is to ensure that all systems remain secure and up to date, and not to have devices on different stages of being up to date and current. Now, Avast has many different shields and features to protect your hardware. When comparing its threat identifying speed compared to other cybersecurity software providers, Avast comes out on top. Hopefully, I can get some more stats on that sometime soon. Just waiting that from them, but there's some really interesting information compared to competitors and how quick Avast software is at identifying threats. Moving along, Bitdefender is another great option for cybersecurity with some good pricing available. Bitdefender has many options such as antivirus, internet security, or even mobile security for Android smartphones, which is a nice touch. There are some restrictions on certain charities they won't provide a discount to, a few other restrictions, but if you can get it, Bitdefender is a fair option and certainly reputable. Lots of people use Bitdefender. And then with Norton is another big name in the world of cybersecurity. And Norton have some great low-cost bundles available that can protect computers, tablets, and smartphones. With extra features such as firewall, VPN, like we discussed a little while back, and password manager, you can cover a lot of bases with Norton, particularly as a small charity, a small organization. Norton can be a strong choice. Now, with Microsoft, I'm going to briefly talk about three Microsoft options regarding that's associated with cybersecurity that are usually associated with each other or can be purchased within the same bundle. There's many, many more. Microsoft have a huge range and lots of product SKUs for lots of things they do, but I'm just going to narrow it down to three, which are often linked together. So Microsoft Azure Active Directory is an essential component for organizations looking to securely manage identities and access across cloud and on-premise environments. It ensures that only authorized people can access specific apps and data. Microsoft Defender, which you may have heard of, more likely is it's a security tool that helps protect you from threats like viruses, malware, and hackers. There are multiple plans available with various levels of protection, with the entry level primarily being an email-based protection tool, and the more expensive plans becoming an endpoint protection, which is like the three I've just spoken about: Avast, Bitdefender, and Norton. And then also Microsoft had a product called Intune. Touched on it very briefly earlier, but it's very similar to Azure Active Directory. It's a tool that helps you manage and protect devices and apps that your employees or volunteers use. It helps you set policies and rules for how devices such as phones, tablets, and your laptops are used, and helps you control which apps can be installed and used on which devices as well. So it can really, instead of giving your staff or your volunteers the keys to the Lamborghini and have access to all of the apps, you can kind of restrict them a little bit to only access the apps that they need to. Now, the reason I wanted to mention these three specific Microsoft tools together is that they're actually all included in a subscription called Microsoft 365 Business Premium, which has an extremely generous discount for charities. So these should be accessible for you as a small charity for certain. A common combination we've noticed at Charity Digital with charities is that a lot of charities who use Microsoft will or even move to them due to all the features that they provide, even outside of cybersecurity, such as the famous tools we use, like the emails, Word, Excel, newer tools such as Teams and OneDrive. But aside from those, Microsoft also has really great security features included. But then charities also get an endpoint protection to run alongside Microsoft. Sometimes they'll upgrade their Defender license to be endpoint protection, but many organizations will have Microsoft running alongside something like Avast, Norton, or Bitdefender, depending on their preferences. That's quite common thing that we've noticed. Now, Acronis is another cloud-based cybersecurity solution with various levels of security requirements available, from anti-malware and remote device wiping to automated patch management. The options for cloud backup are particularly worth looking at if you are using Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. Backup data is a real specialist area for Acronis, and it's a great option in general as well, just for you backing up your data. And to put it simply, cloud backup is used to create backups of data, of course, which is essential not just for your cybersecurity reasons, but general health of your charity, like we discussed earlier. We should be backing up our data regularly in various stages, depending on how often our data is updated, like we spoke about. And then finally, just a brief touch on Dashlane. I spoke a little bit about password managers earlier. Now, with passwords, you want to save them securely rather than on a Word document or a piece of paper. If you go down that line, you really don't want to be doing that. There's a discount code available that will provide a 50% discount on Dashlane business subscription for two or more users. It is a world-renowned, reliable password manager and password generator. So that's something that you're interested in looking at the moment. Definitely take a look as you can save some funds for that. Let's moving on back to the nice, more eye-friendly sides again. Just wanted to make sure everyone was still awake. So, responding to cyber incidents. So, in terms of prevention and containment steps there, you want to disconnect affected devices immediately from the web. And I specifically state the web there as well. You don't want to turn the devices off completely. The reason being is that you may have evidence on the devices that be infected that you may need to use to claim perhaps with your insurer or anyone else as well. So it's more the net side of things that you want to disconnect to stop them from attacking you in that sense. You also want to inform IT or external cybersecurity experts, which we've got to come to the next slide of your attack, and also follow legal obligations to notify affected parties if personal data is compromised, such as under the good old famous GDPR ruling. So yeah, it's important to take note of the 4 points on the screen there now on who to report a cyber attack to. You should report to Action Fraud, Information Commissioner's Office, and the National Cyber Security Centre, or NCSC, as we like to abbreviate it as well. And like we just said, you must let those know by who has been affected as well. And then in terms of just final sort of coming rounding off and nearly here is responding to cyber incidents is that no matter how prepared you are, incidents can still happen. And that's why having a response plan is crucial. So no matter they're some of the people with the best cybersecurity setups in the world and knowledge, they still can be attacked as well. So it's firstly I think the first thing to be aware as well is not to be embarrassed by something like that as well. It can happen to anyone on different varying level degrees as well. I think that's something that gets understated. So don't get embarrassed if it happens to you. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to experts or people who have no idea. But you want to do something like conduct a lessons learned session with your team to identify root causes and update policies to prevent recurrence. So you may want to review what your internal cybersecurity resources are. Like, do you have cybersecurity software in place at the moment? Is more training required? Are you updating all your software? Is these is what I mean by like sort of lessons learned. Like, what can you learn from these? The event that's just unfortunately happened to yourselves. In terms of next steps there, so you want to conduct a cybersecurity assessment, and to do that, we suggest free tools from the National Cybersecurity Centre Cyber Essentials Toolkit. It can provide a quick diagnostic. There's lots and lots of things. Like National Cybersecurity Centre, really the main sort of first stop shop to go to, really for any sort of any cybersecurity queries. They've got so much which I could talk about today, but all I'm going to say is there's some links I'm going to share in a moment, which has sort of links to the National Cybersecurity Centre and topics that they cover, which can, if you really want to dive into that, they're a really great spot to go to. You want to implement an action plan. So you want to prioritize high impact changes. So for example, you want to enable multi-factor authentication if you haven't. You want to restrict access to more of your users and in terms of role-based applications, in that sense. And then you want to conduct training where you can, affordable training. Where can you improve people's knowledge on cybersecurity to stop that in the future? You want to gradually adopt more advanced defenses when you can, so penetration testing, or phishing testing, as I mentioned earlier, as your budgets allow when you can as well. Obviously, they may not be available at the beginning. And remember, cybersecurity is an ongoing process, so do make it part of your organization's culture by regularly reviewing and updating your practices there. Now, I've spoken a lot today about various aspects of cybersecurity, and like I said, this is just a light touch based on a few areas we thought might be crucial crucial for small charities. I have had to oversimplify some areas to save some time, but please visit. We've got a few links I'm going to generate now coming into the chat. So please do visit our cybersecurity hub to dive further onto this topic. We have articles on like various articles on there on cybersecurity, on-demand webinars, even quizzes as well on cybersecurity as well. So if you can't get enough of cybersecurity after today, that's definitely a spot that you can go to. And just please don't treat today as the answer to all of your cybersecurity needs, but your first step to making big strides in improving the approach to cybersecurity for your charity. Like I said, a couple of links are going into the chat there. So about a month ago or so, and then I did a great one. I don't know, well, I didn't do it, but we did one called Guarding Against Ransomware, which I was a part of, but I didn't present it. So that's a good if you want to get more into ransomware, which we briefly spoke about earlier. Obviously, our cybersecurity hub, which is great, lots of information there as well. There was a webinar I did a few years ago, which I still think is relevant, which was associated with the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is entitled "Everything You Need to Know About Cybersecurity." The reason why I brought that back up from a few years ago is it has a little bit of a better, deeper dive on responding to incidents. In terms of, I say better, like there's much more information about it as well, so you might want to check that out. Also, we have a survey going at the moment of what IT support we think like small charities might need associated with cybersecurity. So we're building this survey up at the moment to really get an idea of what the type of support we think small or micro charities out there might need that might be within budgets. And hopefully we can maybe sort of create something in the future for small charities. So definitely take part in the survey as well. So I know we've been on the question slide for a while now, so it is time to open up the floor to some questions. Let me just have a look through as well. So thank you for posting those. By the way, in the background, I forgot to say, helping me today is my colleague James. So thank you, James, for helping in the background with all of those links. Just saying them all. Okay. No questions so far. That's okay. I'll take that as a good thing. I'll allow a few moments and take a sip of water for anyone who has any questions. Just put it in the chat. That's okay. Sometimes we're bombarded with questions, and then sometimes what's presented is enough. But so I guess a good session about the cybersecurity is that there's so much that you can dive into, whether it's on our website or other websites as well. So it's a light touch base, and really today it was more for the smaller charities out there. So hopefully, if you're a one-person band or maybe just a few of you, let's have a look. A few questions coming in now. Okay, let's have a go. Thank you, everyone. So first, you're very welcome, Rosemary. Yeah, so our insurance requires cybersecurity, so that's helpful. Very good. From Wendy, does the use of generative AI pose any new challenges for cybersecurity? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it can do AI in its various forms, as well as generative AI. Probably something you probably know about this already, bring up the topic as well. But one thing with AI is that I forget the exact terminology, but AI can, for a better word of the term, can lie to us sometimes or bring up old data for information. Particularly if you're using offline or versions of generative AI platforms. For example, there is I use many. I'm going to use ChatGPT just as an example now, which I like as well for many different reasons, but I don't like to rely on ChatGPT for factual kind of information, more in line of helping me writing documents and things like that. But that they're also, and that's because it can provide wrong information, and it's the same way with it. Generative AI could provide out of date information regarding cybersecurity or rules or anything like that as well. So it's still a learning world out there, and perhaps that's a topic we could dive in for sure. But yeah, with AI, generative AI, there certainly is. Let's have a look. Hope that helps anyway. Alex, let's have a look. Do you rate the free cybersecurity offers, e.g. Avast? So you might be talking about their AVG license, which is who they were originally. Um, I would say free stuff. I mean, it's hard to say with free stuff. It's always I guess you guess get what you pay for, and in some sense, AVG has improved over the years, especially because obviously it's part of the Avast group. Um, I don't I don't tend to rely on free technology for cybersecurity or endpoint protections. Not necessarily because it's bad, but usually there's some sort of flip side to it, which I don't enjoy. Usually some sort of advertising or comes or starts to follow me everywhere we go. I mean, the more you may probably know this already, but the more websites or various areas we click on, we kind of develop our own solar system where adverts kind of follow us around everywhere. And I kind of find that with for sort of free cybersecurity tools as well, or anything free for like that as well. Because there's other things as well, like you might when you purchase a PC for the first time, you get like a Defender on there as well, which is I think things like that are good for personal use, but definitely when you're coming into the world of businesses or charities, you need to be looking at more professional elements of cybersecurity software, and you'd be looking into the paid market then, I would think. Let's see, Hannah. I'm trying to download the slides to the Everything You Need to Know About Cybersecurity webinar, but it's taken me. Oh, Oh, fair point, Hannah. Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised that the slides have gone actually because of how old the webinar is, 2022. Let me take a look into that in the background. But I've got a feeling that's probably an oversight on my end, so I do apologise due to that I thought that the video itself might be enough. I'll look up the slides there for you if I can see if I can share them out there with you. Um, oh yeah, we've got the timed webinar. Yeah, that you've really helped me actually because now I know if I'm recommending something in so far in the past, which doesn't usually happen. We tend to like to recommend things that are a little bit more present. But I just thought there was something about that one in 2022 I thought would be useful today. But yeah, no, it's a good point now that I know that the slides from back then would be tricky, may not even be available. So yeah, no, thank you for that. Apologies, I was a bit oversight from my end on that one. Okay, just give a few more moments for any questions to come through in chat. All right. Okay. So let's go. Left a little bit of time there. So firstly, before you go, say there should be in chat in a moment. There'll be a link to share your feedback, which will be really, really appreciated. It helps us deliver better services, not just for me, but any other sort of webinars or content that we do. So our next, well, we have a few free events coming up as well. But the one that I mentioned about backing up data is actually mentioned here. So how charities can effectively protect data is going to be associated with backing up your data. So we're doing that on the 23rd of January at 1 p.m. there. So that's by all means, but it'd be great if you could join us for that. I'll be doing part of the presentation of it that day as well. So I'll be as best as I can with a couple of other at least one other guest on it as well, which is to be determined. But if you like my style, you can feel free to come and join me again. But I think that'll be the end of the questions today and also the session. Again, thanks so much for you for joining me today. I really hope that you've found it useful or learned something new, or at least know where to go if you need some further information. And just like to wish you a very good day. Nice to see you all. Goodbye now.
Thank you.